Wait, where the heck am I? Oh, hey Yoda.
Oh, hey, Millie.
Oh, hello.
Hello,
Where
I'm Harold.
where in the world am I? Why are we in a schoolroom?
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. We have a new person today. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Is that me? I'm
Yep.
Millie. Hello. Where am I?
Hello. So,
Hello.
we are going to be doing an archaeology challenge.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah, let me give you some quick rules for this challenge. Number 1, no collaboration. So don't go and talk to each other or go to each other's sites. Everything needs to be semi-realistic. So, maybe don't go into spectator mode and look under the ground. Once you are to where you are at, you will be within 100 blocks of the ruins. Please ignore all wool blocks, because that's kind of how I built the thing, so I might have missed a few. You will excavate the site, you will rebuild it the way you think it should look, and you will interpret it.
Nice.
At the end of building it, you will give me a tour, and I will grade you how well you've done.
Oh no, great.
we're being
Oh.
graded on this?
I'm
I'm
taking
gonna
a test.
fail.
How do I get out of here?
It is
Oh,
a school.
There's no escape.
Oh no.
So, to give you an idea of what I'm going to be grading you on, it's going to be on 4 criteria. One is going to be the site completion. So, if you were to, if you've adequately excavated the entire thing, the footprint of the site, or of the buildings, I should say, and the layout of those buildings. So, that's different. Those are 2 different things. Footprint would be, of course, the shape. So, if it's a big, giant, empty rectangle versus a rectangular hotel, obviously those are 2 different things.
Okay.
And the final thing is materials. If you get the materials correct, I will of course give an extra point to whomever gets the interpretation the closest.
Oh.
So, does everybody understand this challenge?
Yes, and once we're done, we get released, right?
We do get to go back home to our own servers, right?
Absolutely.
Can
Does
I
anybody
keep
have
this,
any?
Can I keep
Oh.
this outfit, though? This is pretty cool.
Oh.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah,
I have
yeah,
a cool outfit too. Neat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for me?
I think so.
I think it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
I
this
do
sounds
too.
awesome.
Yeah. No questions?
No, I don't have any
Great.
questions.
No, I don't think so.
See ya.
Whoa. Oh, hello. Where the heck? Why am I in a village house? This is weird. Where am I? He said I have to find... Oh, there's a pink sheep over there. Said we have to find where this thing is, and it's supposed to be nearby somewhere within 100 blocks. Oh, hello! Actually, maybe I should explain what's going on here. This is Daskalos' world. If you haven't subscribed, I'm gonna put his link up and down in the doobly-doo, and there's his name and stuff. I am in a very cool rogue explorer archaeologist skin today because we are supposed to be redoing a ruin somewhere, which I'm gonna have to find. He says it's within 100 blocks and probably mostly buried. And then I have to somehow recreate this thing. I'm thinking we're going to be looking for anything that is out of the ordinary. I mean, that village there is kind of out of the ordinary too, but I don't think that seems natural, honestly. Aha! Thought so. This train. I've been playing Minecraft for a few years now. Past the archaeology update. And that doesn't look necessarily all that natural either, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. But these calcite blocks definitely look like they have something to do with it. So we have to figure out, unbury this thing from what little archaeology information I know. I'm at a disadvantage. So Harald, who you saw in the class, he has his own channel. Again, his link is in the doobly-doo too. he is kind of a retired archaeologist, so he's had some like actually official training. Oda's been working with Daskalos for like a year or so now, so he also has an advantage just from how Daskalos thinks. And then there's me. There's me. I took a college course in archaeology, and I've watched some TV shows. So we're gonna be going very base level here. Yeah, so I think this is it. So we've been given rights to being creative, but we can also be very, very careful with how we do this. And I've got to unbury this build, and I have to be able to recreate what this is, and those don't look natural either, so those are probably going to be a hint. So I'm thinking if I kind of just look around this area, there was a village nearby, so we're going to assume that this is maybe part of the village. And yeah, I think I just need to start unburying this just like I would with the trail ruins or an ancient city, get kind of an idea of what this is and like what is left over, and then we can start gathering supplies and see what I can find. I'm looking forward to this. So let's get started. I think I'm gonna put we don't have day and night cycles here, we won't have rain, so that's awesome. So I think what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna go into survival mode and get some basic tools so I don't mess up anything. Probably put some chests down and collect all of the blocks that are left over, just so that I have a good place to kind of store and, you know, use those resources later. And also so I don't accidentally break something that exists in the world. So I'm pretty sure that's it. I've never seen calcite on the surface that's not on a mountain, so I think this is where we're going to start. Set down some chests. We're gonna go into survival mode. We don't have to worry about food or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't damaging or destroying any blocks that exist in the world that aren't supposed to be there. So let's take down this. Just gonna kind of dig out around this weird calcite structure. We might have to take some trees down too. Just like with a trail ruins, this could be very small or it could be very, very large. Daskalos said we had as much time as we needed to take to be able to do these. And that he was going to give us as much... Oh, that's an interesting... Oh, hello. House slab. He said not only were we going to have as much time as it took, we would be able to make as many videos as we needed. I'm not sure how long this is going to take for me, or how long I'll be able to take on it. It's a very unique challenge, so I don't want to screw this up. I've never been challenged like this before. I've done some trail ruins stuff in the past. To be similar to it, but completely different. We're not talking about actual trail ruins here. So there's gravel, dirt. Let's go out a little bit further, see if we can find more of this gravel. And then when I get completely done with it, Daskalos is going to come and grade my ideas. Put it onto page basically, and decide whether or not I am an archaeological absolute noob or not, which I totally am. Okay, there's more gravel down here. I think make it like fairly obvious, just like in a trail ruin. So okay, there's some more of this calcite right in here. Let's see how far back in this goes. Because I'm already seeing kind of an outline shape right there, which is really cool. That's a pretty neat thing. You know what this calls for? Digging fast mode. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Where I'm gonna do, I'm gonna dig down to this gravel layer in replay and see how far we can get. Oh, ooh, and I'm gonna need lots more shovels than this. All right, let's start building fast mode or digging fast mode. Yeah, uncovering fast mode. I'm not sure if those time lapses were all that enjoyable because I was just digging dirt, but I honestly kind of enjoyed the process of uncovering all of this gravel and the occasional special block now and then telling me I was in the right direction. So some of this packed mud, and then I think I found, what did I find over here? I found a furnace or something over here. So definitely was going in the right direction. So basically I'm coming upon this whole project as a Minecrafter, just as if I'm looking for a trail ruins. And as part of the trail ruin thing, I haven't actually done that in a video before, but what I have done in the past when I've come across the trail ruins is do it very methodically and uncover what I can find. Now, obviously, there's this big structure, whatever it is, and then I would look for some patterns. So for me, finding all of this gravel was kind of an unusual thing, because yes, we can find gravel when we're digging out a hill, but normally we'll come across a stone or something 3 or 4 blocks down, and there was gravel. So it does seem to be laid out, and I'll show you the maps here in a second. I have made maps for this initial dig. So the very first step here, I wanted to uncover all of the gravel, so I dug down to that, and then we started looking at some of the structures that are left. And this one has a gold block in it, which is really cool. So something high importance probably was there. I'm not sure whether or not the basalt here was something special, but it's only in this section, so that's something we've got to keep an eye out as we're doing this. The basalt, there are some suspicious gravel, and I'm not sure if they'll be diggable or not. So we're using our brush or something, so we'll test that here in a minute. But we have this structure here, which has some of these deep slate tiles. There's this one, which is built with the same material, so very possibly we're the same kind of structure, I'm not sure. And maybe this one's a single structure, I'm not sure, it could be 3. I don't know yet. Let's take a look. So, and then we have all of these others, so I do need to continue taking this mountain down, and I've gone through a lot of shovels. One thing that I recall from some of the shows that I've watched, because I'm not an archaeologist, but I have watched shows on archaeology, is that when you take the gravel and you take all of this dirt out, you're going to keep it and you might sift for interesting things like pottery shards and bones and arrowheads and all that stuff. So I did keep all the dirt that came out of it, even though in Minecraft we aren't going to be actually using it, but I did keep it in case we were to do that. And then I kept flowers and plants and my backup shovels. I've gone through a lot of shovels so far. And then I made a map. So this is a map of our main area that we've found so far. And this actually gives us a lot better idea, I think, of what this area might be, or at least the shape of the area, a lot better than just kind of looking on it. To be able to look down on it, this and these two structures, they definitely look like they're separate structures from here. But there also is something larger, like there's a shape of a structure. So as we dig down, hopefully we'll find some more blocks to lead us in the right direction. But there appears to be maybe like individual, like a structure there, a structure here, maybe a larger, couple bigger structures. This is really cool. So I'm gonna take it down. I'm not gonna make you sit through another time lapse because I understand that digging dirt is not nearly as interesting as looking and seeing these things. This is what you probably wanted to see more than anything. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take at least another layer or two down around the gravel. I'm gonna leave the gravel in place for now. Just because I don't know whether or not this represents the structures themselves or it represents just the fact that something is buried underneath them. So I do want to keep that in place for now. And then we'll come back and see what this all looks like afterward and see what blocks I uncover. If I come down and it's sort of like this with the suspicious gravel and there's like actual real blocks below it that don't make any sense to have the gravel on top, I'll probably get rid of that. So let's go. It's gonna take like 5 seconds in your chat, like a second. It's going to be a second for you, but for me it's going to be probably a couple hours. And if this were a real dig, this would probably be, you know, weeks at a time trying to get all this unburied. If this had been an area where we were having construction, say in a real life setting, and there was construction and a bulldozer came through, I'm kind of thinking that I've got it down to the point where a bulldozer would have come through and all of a sudden they hit this hill and they hit this stuff, and then the archaeologists have managed to like stop the construction so that they could investigate the site before actual construction went on. So that's where we're at right now. And then we'll see what else we can find under here. As I said, I found a couple like packed mud and some other structure blocks. So I'm hoping underneath this gravel, we're going to find more. Well, I think it's very apparent that the gravel does not outline the actual city. I think I'm going to have to take the gravel out next. Now, something I do know about watching, you know, shows about archaeology and geology and stuff is that as time goes by, sentiment and dirt build up, blown in by the winds, created by the grass and foliage breaking down over time during each winter and spring cycle, and eventually it just sort of piles up and makes new dirt and new gravel. Now, I did go down into here a little bit and got rid of some of the dirt, but we can get rid of a little bit more of this to kind of get down in here even further. I'm not sure whether this is the ground or whether there's something else underneath it. So we might have to eventually lift up some of these tiles. I'm going to take a little bit of this gravel off too. But as time goes by, you have the dirt, and then the dirt gets compacted, and then that becomes probably the gravel in this case. So we're probably going to have to take out the gravel next and see if we can uncover any more like buildings out underneath, or at least bits and pieces out underneath this gravel. Because I already know that there's way more. See, there's diorite under here, and there's... Ooh, I'm not sure. Like something else has fallen. I don't know why there's a gap here, so we might have to investigate that. whether that would be considered a doorway. And look what else I found. There's diorite here, there's soul sand, there's glowstone, and there's a chest, and of course a beautiful little brewing stand, which is... I dug this out and I found light, and I was very, very surprised. So I'm onto something that this was a building, because that is very much pointing towards an interior. This seems like it might be roof, and maybe either the diorite is another level of this compression. So it's either the next level underneath this gravel for the sediment that fell, or it's ceiling, like, because they could have had beautiful diorite ceilings. So I have so much more work to do. Daskalos gave me, look at this thing. Look at this. This is huge. This is like twice the size, maybe 3 times the size of an actual trial chamber. He mentioned something about if it takes you a couple weeks or a month or something, and I'm like, maybe it will. I'm not sure, especially if I keep digging it with iron tools, but I am trying to be very, very careful and not take up too much stuff, because I am notorious for... Oh, hello, walls. Oh, look at that. I am very, very notorious for accidentally digging out suspicious gravel, and I'm very curious about that suspicious gravel. So maybe before I go to this next layer of getting rid of all this gravel, let's hop into creative for a second and get us a brush. Now, I kind of don't think that you can do suspicious gravel anywhere you want, so this might just brush away, but we will find out, I guess. Oh, you can. Okay. Oh, this brings up a whole nother... I do have to be careful then. I do have to be careful, because I could potentially lose things if I'm not careful with this suspicious gravel and just dig it out. And it looks like that's a glass pane, so I wonder if any of these others are. Any of these other glass panes? That's a glass pane. That doesn't appear to have anything, so that one might be okay. I also found these quartz pillars, and this is quartz as opposed to calcite, so that's a good... That's something else. So we have a whole different build here, probably, than what we had over here, because this is more diorite and calcite. Oh, I really want to see what all of this looks like, and obviously I have to get rid of all this gravel. So let me get to the next section here. I'm just gonna skip forward again so you don't have to wait on me to dig more stuff. I hope you enjoyed that time lapse. I thought it might be a little bit more enjoyable to see me actually uncovering stuff the second time around, so I decided to include it, even though I was just going to jump forward. We have a lot of structures to try to figure out in the next episode. I did make a map of it, because this is kind of phase 2, and this is, you know, there's going to be a big structure. I'll show you all of this in person here in just a second, but you can kind of see there's a lot of structures here. There's a structure here, couple here, a couple larger ones in here, lots more to the white structures. I started making notes on all of the different phases and what I did during the different phases, and we'll go over those near the end when I actually reveal this all to Daskalos and kind of go, okay, this is what I did in this phase, and this is what I did, and these. And I'm thinking it's going to take probably another couple episodes and then the reveal with Daskalos. So let's take a look at what we have discovered so far. I have left all of the suspicious gravels. I will be dealing... Ooh, I am back on creative again, so I gotta be careful about waving my arms around. I I'm going to leave those for next episode, so stay tuned if you want to know what's in these suspicious gravels. We discovered there was a little bit of a hiccup. Some of the suspicious gravels had what they were supposed to have in them, and some of them did not, so I'm not sure if Daskalos is going to come back through and kind of fix that or not. But we have a very large, like, maybe church complex with possibly a graveyard wall or at least a courtyard of some sort, so we'll have to figure that one out. This seems to be either maybe an open air pit, maybe a fire pit. I'm not sure. There's like red sand down in this one. I will really want to know what's in there because it could like give me my hint about what this thing was. This big structure had some awesome quartz pillars, like quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 pillars. And some of them had like these cool toppers, because this one has like a cool topper on it too. So I think we're gonna have to rebuild that. And I do think that this is all a part of one much larger structure, maybe a church, and maybe it was like the actual like or some other kind of very important building where they had all of this gold and fanciness down here. So we're gonna have to figure that out. There are these other structures. There's about 4 or so. There's this kind of mud structure, and I've noticed with these mud brick structures, they have like a deep slate foundation, and then this one had a deep slate foundation. That one has a deep slate foundation, and then this one. And then I'm not sure, but I think these two kind of fit together. So this is probably what he meant by the shape of the buildings. And then we're going to be looking at the actual layout. And I think what he meant with layout, he was talking about like these. So this structure here, as we kind of work our way further away from the big main white buildings, I noticed we had a very fancy like brick building that had some glazed terracotta and some terracotta. So that kind of points me to like a village, like the village, you know, masons and stuff like that. This may have been something where they were creating something to ship out. I'm not sure yet. And this one is yet another one of those like larger buildings. So these seem to be like a little more expensive, a little better materials. And then as we move our way out, we have the cobblestone area. And then this one's cobblestone and mud brick. And again, and smooth sand. Smooth sandstone in this. So there seems to be some smooth sandstone in here. So this one, I am scratching my head about this one. So, and unfortunately, all of this will be done before you're actually viewing this episode. So you can put your comments down below of what you think all of this is. I'm not going to be able, I'll comment back on them whether or not I think you're right or not. But in all fairness, I will not be taking your advice because I am not allowed to take anyone's advice, not even my comment section. So you'll see me struggle. And if you got it right by the end of the episodes, like I'm going to give you a shout out by the very end if I have some people who came up with the right ideas. So if it's at the very end of the episode, once I've talked to Daskalos and we've had the last episode and we find out who the winner is, I will let you know too, because I think that it would be an awesome thing if you figured it out. But there's this one too, which also has the mud brick and the cobblestone, similar to that one. There's a lot of like items in here, so I'm looking forward to being able to find all that. This one in my head, I'm thinking we might be stables. There's a lot of horses around here. But, you know, that's just my initial guess. This area here seems like a common area or like a communal shopping area. Because there's like a couple furnaces here. So they were probably, you know, cooking. There's these little bricks that are actually like perfectly laid out in the center of these paths. And these look like paths. Now they're going to probably get grass in them. It'll be all grassed over by the time I get to building these. But I think these may have been path blocks. And this may have either been just like an open air thing, or it could have been like where they posted like a pillar with like wool, or not wool, but you know, like canopies or something along those lines. These seem to me, they scream to me like this area was probably all cobble on the ground, and then there was little shops, so little individual shops in each of these little stalls. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this wasn't a shopping thing. But I think if this didn't have these two furnaces here, I would be more inclined to thinking that these were stalls for horses or animals. But with those there, it just screams to me that this may have been like a shopping area. Well, I hope in the Craftworks server or my adventure guild. Oh, hey, oh yeah, this is Daskalos' Minecraft Archaeology Challenge. And I was kidnapped and put in some weird rogue archaeology clothes. Oh, yeah. I guess I get to go home if I can finish this, so I guess we need to get on to the second part of this challenge. As you may have recalled from last episode, I did a lot of digging. I did so much digging that I have chests and chests full of dirt and gravel until I got down to kind of the bare bones of what Daskalos built. And I'm still not 100% sure I know what all these things are, but I do have some more clues to what some of these things are in these suspicious gravels. So what I have done is, and I will probably do this in survival, hopefully, so I don't break blocks, because I do have a habit of breaking blocks if I touch them in creative, because I wave my hands around a lot. Anyway, I'm going to do a little brushing, and then put down a item frame and put the item that I find next to the gravel. And if there's nothing, then I won't put down an item frame. And then hopefully we will be able to find some clues to what each of these structures were from those items that we find. So we're going to start with this one. So let's do a little brushy brush and see if it tells us what it was. So what do we got? We have charcoal. So that is kind of what I suspected it to be, because I did think it was a fireplace. What I am going to do next is I'm going to go through all of these different suspicious gravels, and I might leave. No, I'm going to get rid of the gravel. If it's just gravel and nothing else, I won't bother with an item frame for it. And we will figure out what is left over. We did tell Daskalos that not all of these blocks had items, and I have a feeling maybe he decided to just leave it as an additional, like, challenge for us. Minecraft Archaeology Challenge, that is. And, fewer hints, the better, maybe. In real archaeology, we really don't have as many clues as we would like to have. And, sometimes we're going to expect maybe it's a burial mound, and we're going to find, coffin, tombs and stuff like that. And it's not. And it ends up being just a garbage mound or something. And it was where everybody threw their broken pottery or something along those lines. So, and heck, there's pottery sherds in this game, so maybe we're gonna find something like that in all of these ruins. We never know. Go into super fast archaeology mode. Welcome back. I guess time lapses of me slowly sifting through gravel is probably not all that exciting, but let's take a look at what we found regardless. Now, after digging up probably about the 100th piece of charcoal, I started to think, like, this one kind of makes sense as kind of a fireplace or something like that, especially with the brick and like the sand. And this one over here was kind of like that too, although there's a lot of charcoal here. This one had a lot of the bricks, but also had a lot of charcoal in this back area. But I did find some things that weren't charcoal out here. More of the glazed terracotta and iron ingot, some irregular terracotta. So this charcoal could have a couple different meanings. Some of this charcoal, to me, could mean this was maybe an area where they process charcoal. Or could mean that this charcoal is what's left over after this place burned down, and all this charcoal represents wood. So there's a couple possibilities. And as probably, if you watched anything about archaeology before now, I'm sure they've said it, like, a lot of deciphering what an archaeological ruin is somewhat guesswork. Like, this is all charcoal. Like, this entire back area is all charcoal. There's no reason for people to have stored that much, not that I'm aware of, unless there was, like, a wood thing or, like, a giant furnaces or something. So most likely this charcoal is here to represent this place had burnt down, and this is what's left over of the wood. So that's my initial impression. And it kind of spilled over into this ruin as well. There's a lot of charcoal and not a lot of anything else. Now, one place that I do think that I was on to something earlier was this area, which I'm going to dub it the marketplace for now. Because look, it was either a market or just a storage for all of the villagers. But I'm leaning towards marketplace, and I'll show you why. Because there's foodstuffs here, there's foodstuffs here. This is all pottery sherds. This is a little bit more pottery and brick sherds. Those are bones. So this could have been like a place where they, had meat or something along those lines. But then we get into some interesting things. Cut stone slab, an iron block, iron and some more charcoal and some wood and that sort of thing. And then look at these, a glass pane, candles, string and dye. All of those things kind of point towards either a market or some place that they created all this stuff. But I'm gonna lean towards, probably a market. So we'll probably build this as a marketplace. Another cool thing that I found as I was going along are these two lanterns, and they were in like blocks right in here. So I'm thinking this was a lamppost, or at least represents a lamppost, which probably means that was probably a lamppost too. So we'll have to recreate these lamps. This one was probably a place to create all of these fancy bricks. So probably a mason's place of business or something like that. So that is what I'm going to be calling that. This one was very empty of anything so far, but I have a feeling there's a floor down here, and I need to get to it to see if there's any other clues down below. I'm hoping that the suspicious gravel isn't broken past a certain level, because I don't know if you noticed, but there's only like maybe 2 or 3 levels, and then anything below that, the gravel was completely empty, and then anything higher was also sort of empty. So I'm hoping that's the case. We might dig down in here and find stuff. And then this last building over here, well, not before the white buildings here, I found some seeds and pods. So I don't know if this was storage of, plant type or something. We have these foundations. So I'm still needing to dig down a little further and see if we can find the original floors. I'm still leaning towards a lot of these either being the walls or the ceilings of these buildings. So we will find out about that, roofs of the buildings. And then we have our big fancy, like, cathedral-y type places, or Parthenons, or whatever you want to call it, has specific types of stained glass. So I did notice there's orange and yellow along all of these windows, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to reproduce that without too much trouble. The rest of this was a lot of pottery sherds, and there's actually a book I found, and look at that. Wood. Actual wood that didn't get burned. So I'm looking forward to kind of digging down in here too to see what else we can find. Was it a bookshelf? Was it a podium? Was it something else down in here? I don't know yet. And then all of these pillars were up above here. So still kind of trying to figure that out, but definitely a storage of some sort, and, you know, some place where people, you know, had, yeah, stored books and important items of some sort. And then our very rich and wealthy kind of like a bank or some kind of place where people came and left their treasures. There's a lot of gold down in here. And then more yellow and orange panes. Now there's blue panes along that wall, but there's orange along the other walls too. So I'm not sure why the blue in comparison to those. I have no idea which way west and north and south is at the moment. But the glow lichen I'm scratching my head about. I don't know that yet, and it shows up in a few different spots here. So I don't know if maybe it's representing broken glass. I don't know if it's representing some kind of gilding that came off of some of these things, or glue or something like that. So I'm still trying to puzzle that part out. And then this area I think was part of the road. And if you really look at it, this looks like part of this building here tipped over and fallen over. So this looks kind of like the window frame. So I'm thinking our windows right here are in these like spots where they've been fallen over. So hopefully, and then this probably roof design on top. And this might be the same thing. So I don't know if this piece fell from this side or it fell from this side. So I might have to still kind of fiddle around with it a little bit. But this looks like more roof maybe, and or flooring of another building, like a smaller building. Maybe there was still a pathway, because I still see some of these bricks from the pathways that led around the buildings. And then let's go into this area, because this area had nothing. There was zip, nada, zilch, nothing to discover for... There was regular gravel, which I just realized that I did not get all of, but there's nothing in here for suspicious gravel. So I'm not sure if it just was a way more austere portion. I mean, we have the brewing stand over here and the gold and stuff like that, but we will have to find out, because I do need to dig up quite a few layers, it looks like, to get to where the floors were in here. And then out here, the only hints that I have to this area are some seeds and seed pods, and then a lot more of this charcoal, and then there's a lot of holes that were just empty. So instead of a graveyard like I was originally thinking, I do think it was a courtyard of some sort or a garden. So we have our work cut out for us. I'm getting close. So I'm like, I have like 2 or 3 of the buildings kind of figured out with what I kind of want to do with them. The rest of them, not so much. What I'm going to do is, I know this video is, I don't know if this video is going on long or short. I'm rambling a whole lot. I hope you're enjoying the discovery portion of this, even though, I mean, put some comments down below. If you're enjoying this, you know, hit that subscribe button so you can find out what these things are, because at the end of the series, we will find out what Daskalos had in mind. So next time we're going to rebuild, but I do need to skip forward, and I'm going to kind of pull up stuff off the ground, I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put down chests in front of each of the individual buildings, kind of pull up all the materials that exist in these spaces and get it down to its bare bones. So I'm not going to make you sit through that. We'll get you there here shortly, and yeah, we'll go 3, 2, 1. There's been a lot of exciting developments as I dug this out, so we're going to start down at this end and work our way back in. And I'm going to turn myself back to survival so that I don't bap anything into non-existence. Now, as I went along, unburying all the different areas, what I thought was probably foundations, because we're looking at villager houses here, kind of, like little village houses have cobble as their bases, or they've got maybe this deep slate in some areas, or maybe other fancier materials like we have over there. But when I was coming through this area, I'm thinking these might be small personal dwellings, aka village houses, just like we see up there. And all of the dirt, I mean, all of the packed mud and the sandstone or their floors, I'm really leaning towards the fact that this means that all of this charcoal probably means these are all wooden dwellings. And I think Daskalos left us a hint about what kind of wood these dwellings were made out of. So this is going to be kind of exciting because it looks like we've got fairly straightforward cobblestone foundations. And I think we even have like where their doors were, because we have, maybe not this one, I'll have to figure out where the door is on this one, but this one looks like the door may have been there, and that's where that leans to. So if that's the case, it's probably another door there, doorway here, and a doorway here leading out. And I pulled quite a bit of packed mud, so it was probably a mixture of packed mud and bamboo on these buildings, so I can't wait to build those back up. Those were kind of easy, so that wasn't, well, I hope. I could be like way off on those. I have no idea. I made sure to make a note of the lamp post, and I think we may have had another lamp post here because there's a little bit more of that stone wall here, so I'll have to make sure a lamp post gets added there. This outdoor, I'm 100% sure this is an outdoor, or like maybe there was some kind of posts or something in here that kind of lifted the structure. So this will be kind of fun to build. I do want to build this one into the outdoor marketplace and make sure that all of these different items are in their places. Now, I don't think that these wooden little oak slabs had anything to do with what this was built with necessarily. I think it was more of something that was for sale here, but again, as I kind of build, we'll see what that is. But I definitely have some veggie stalls and carts and that sort of thing. Now this one surprised me because I had no idea what this was, but I think these are more along the line of villager houses, but ones that had a profession. So here is all of our missing professions that I had not yet found. So we have a smoker here and a lot of charcoal again, so there's probably wood again. And look what else we found. More bamboo slabs down in here. There was probably a fisherman here. And then there's also an oak log, which is kind of cool. This is a good hint that I might be onto something with the oak log things, and that slab may have been a roof. And then we've got kind of a mix palette of packed mud and the sandstone on the floors. Same all the way through here. And look, we've got a loom here. So there was probably, rooms for other professions in here too. Maybe there was some sheep stalls back in there, and that's the reason for the packed mud. I'm not sure yet. It would be kind of fun to be able to make these into like individual stalls. At first I thought those were like animal stalls, so it could be something along those lines. maybe chicken and fish, and they had all of their individual like places where they sold their things. Now, if we come along down here, this was absolutely 100% a mason / terracotta, because this mason had not only... I was kind of surprised I didn't have a stone cutter, honestly, because usually they have stone cutters in an actual village, but what we did get is these quartz blocks. We had all of this terracotta, and this iron ingot may have stood for the stone cutter that could have been here at one point. And I feel like the way this is all laid out, this was probably a sales floor where they had their wares kind of sitting out for display. Now, I'm not sure whether this was just the brick display. I kind of think it was, because I left it completely alone. I left it completely intact. And if you notice, these chiseled stone bricks here were there, and then these chiseled deep slate bricks were there, and then this like is showing all sorts of different kinds of varieties to the bricks that you could get. Now back in here, I think that was the storefront. And then back in here was where they actually did all of the bricks and such. And I was wondering what these little stone staircases are, and I may have flipped that. I'm going to have to look at a picture if I flipped that wrong, because I picked it up and then realized I should have probably left it alone. But these look like little slots where they would dry bricks. And I'm thinking there's even like a little hole down here, so maybe there's a place where they actually mixed up the bricks and created the forms before actually drying them out in the kilns. So I think that's what this was back in here. This one, I actually found there was a little divot in a fireplace with an iron ingot over it. And this says to me that we're probably a blacksmith of some sort, because of the smithing table there. Now, continuing along, this one has cauldrons. So this was a leathersmith area, which was very exciting. Again, another little divot hole for something. I'm not entirely sure. These little stalls, so this says to me that this wheat was used for the cows that left this manure. We have one piece of wood and some more charcoal, so we might have some wood in this build too, and that is very much spruce. So I don't know where that could have... There's literally that piece, and we had a lot of mud bricks, so I did leave some of those in place to kind of give myself an idea of how these walls may have been. Same here, one tiny piece of spruce was all we had left. We have a furnace there, lots and lots of coal, but most importantly, our blast furnace. So our weaponsmith, our toolsmith, our armor smith probably were all in this area. So weaponsmith here, and they were probably a lot more rich because they were probably dealing with diamonds and other items to be able to... They had to use the blast furnaces and the anvils to pound out all the weapons and tools, as opposed to, you know, the other kinds of smiths, but armor smiths maybe. Now coming over here, we have a cartographer table, and we also have a podium, so a librarian and a cartographer. I'm thinking these may have actually been their living quarters, so that's where I'm leaning towards here. Here's a half slab of more of that spruce wood, so that probably was the roof. I'm gonna lean towards that. Continuing on, we're almost finished, and then we'll wrap up this video. This is absolutely a library / another cartographer table in here, so this is where they worked, but I almost have a feeling like either these were like apprentices and these guys were the serious work, or that's where they lived and then they worked in here. Again, some more spruce wood, which I'm surprised at, but I don't think I found... Did I find roofing? Like, all of this stuff had roofing. So deep slate ceilings, deep slate floors. I don't remember. I'll have to look back at the pictures. I can't remember if this one had deep slate, but I do think it may have had deep slate tile roofs too. This one, I feel like it might be a treasury. This definitely looks like now that it's the roof. Like, there, it's the ceiling, and I haven't dug all of this out yet, but if you dig it up, you can see that there's floors down here. So I think I'm going to have to replicate this whole design on the ceiling. And then look, I found a door. And the door leads out onto a little stair. And then it leads into this like little courtyard thing. And I think this courtyard thing had a deep slate roof, but it didn't have a ceiling. So I think it was like an outdoor area. And then if you came in here, this just seemed to be like a big open area with a couple rooms. And I kind of left all the calcite in place if there was dirt under it, just because there wasn't any flooring. So maybe this was maybe some pillars, possibly, or walls. Then when we come back in here, here is where our brewing stand was. There wasn't anything in the chest, sadly, and our glowstone. So these were probably back quarters of whatever this build was. All right, there we go. We have our next map portion here. We have a very good idea of the checkered floor within that building. Our pillars that we have here, like up in here. The little like flower courtyard that might be there. The pathway that goes around the outdoor market. The terracotta and all of that. Now, I'll still write in the book, but I'm not going to make you sit through that. Why am I here in this place? I'm going crazy. All I need to do now is build this place back up. Oh, hey, I think I'm going a little stir crazy here in this archaeological dig site. Welcome to the Minecraft Archaeology Challenge put on by Daskalos. This is episode 3 of I hope a 4-part challenge. I hope we're coming into the home stretch, folks. We're almost there. Today I actually get to do some building. Yay! All right, to recap what has been going on, this whole area started out as a giant dirt mound that I had to dig out and uncover all of these ancient ruins, and we're gonna fly up real quick to kind of take a look at all of this area. A lot of it had broken down walls and a lot of items and suspicious gravel. We had a ton of clues to what everything is, and now we have kind of a basic layout. So now that I have an idea and a plan, thanks to these little signs that I've left for myself, I need to start putting things back together. So we are going to be doing things in a few different pieces. First, I'm going to reconstruct the areas that are pretty obvious. Like, we're going to be doing lots of let's make things look the way they did back when they first came about. And I do get to use creative in this, thank goodness, because this would be a lot harder if I had to go and source all of these materials that I would need out in the great world without being in creative. That would gotta stink. And then we have to actually build the buildings back. And all I have for clues for what these buildings look like are their basic shape foundations, some supplies that I gathered up from the wreckage, and, you know, just basic knowledge of building that I've had over the years. And I think I have a few more pillars I need to put in, stuff like that. Like, just getting all of these stairs in, putting some more pillars in, and having an idea of what they used to look like from, again, the materials and where things fell that I pulled up in the last episode. So yeah, let's get started on the very first of these time lapses. I hope you all enjoyed that time lapse. It wasn't very interesting. I understand that. So hopefully these next few sections will be quite a bit more interesting. But I like how things are turning out already. And if we take a look at kind of the structures that I was able to recoup, and we are going to change these things. We just figured out we had an issue where these item frames were. We had a problem with entities not dropping, so I couldn't move these item frames, and I was just going absolutely bonkers. But now that we can do some of that, we can I can place some of these additional stones, and I see a trend. So we see a trend where there were probably pillars that held up the structures that kind of like overhangs on this section. So that kind of got recreated. These, I decided to get rid of the packed mud in favor of the sandstone, thinking that they were probably sandstone, and then over time they degraded and mud and got dirty and just got packed in. So I got rid of those. Same thing on over here, kind of gave some structure. So when Daskalos in the episode 1 talked about not only the layout but the structure of these buildings, this is kind of what I figured. I might, connect some things. Thankfully, he left a lot of awesome clues, which probably in real archaeology wouldn't happen. So if there was a block, I would dig down to find, and then if there was sandstone or mud, packed mud or something, I would assume that this used to be the floor, and then I would remove the other bricks around it and then recreate it from there. So that was pretty awesome. And I'm actually going to take this out and set that there and just put it over to the side just to represent that we know there was bamboo in this build somewhere. And I'm going to assume, because there's bamboo in that one and there's bamboo here, that the roofs or some other portion of the building had this bamboo. So as I recreate these, I will make sure that I still incorporate that. I still incorporate the oak logs, etc. And this is test subject number 1 with the rebuild. And I did not record this because I was super frustrated with the layout. Now, in here, I'm running under the assumption that these little pieces of charcoal were remnants of wood or something along that line around here in this area. So it could be trees, which I'm probably going to put some trees and make a nice little garden down here. I'm going to save that for last. But I also kind of made the assumption that there may have been some other types of wood or something like that in here. Not 100%, because the way the walls structure, if you go back to video 2, you'll see that this structure here was completely different. I couldn't figure out what to do with it. I mean, I was very 3 days of mulling this over until I just kind of said, forget it, let me rebuild it the way I would think that I could possibly make it. Now, this one was a little, what I thought would have been a little bit easier. There was kind of an awning. There was all of these deep slate tiles down here on the floor. And actually, now that I've removed that sign, I'm going to replace that. I'm running under the assumption that the basalt was broken, and I'm just replacing it with the main tile that was in here. I'm going to get started on this, enjoy the time lapses, what I have, and then we're going to come back in and take a look at what I did. And then next episode, we will show this off to Daskalos and see how close or not I was on this. So let's begin the time lapse of all this building. Help me, help me. I hope I can figure this out. This is a lot of work. This is so much work. I didn't realize how much work this was until I did one building and just wanted to rip my hair out. So, all right, guys, let's go. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those time lapses. We now have our complete city. At least I hope so. I hope I hope there wasn't more that was left uncovered, because that would be embarrassing. But let's take a look at the map that I made here. So the map shows our big white buildings, the garden, the open fireplace, the brick and mud brick buildings that have masons and cartographers, the area where we have the mason, a few other village huts, and the open air market. I hope this is it. I hope this is it. This is what I have come up with, and this is what I'm going to stay. I have been tweaking things since each of the time lapses, so let's take a look up here. We'll start at the very first building that we uncovered. That was one of the these two were the tallest buildings that were in this area. This is the cleric villager house, and or maybe a place where they sold items. Now, I did not fill these buildings in too much. I did put beds. I am not sure. Like, these things I could take out or whatever. I just kind of wanted to flesh them out just a little bit to kind of see how layouts would have been. It could have been alternate study areas. They could have been other places where more experiments were being done. This could have been a bed or something else. Maybe it was a safety zone to keep people out of the actual brewing area. I'm not sure. I assume that they knew how to grow wort because of the soul sand, but there's nothing in the chest to be able to tell beyond the glowstone, because the glowstone was an important component into the brewing process. Not sure whether I got this interior correct or not, but I think so. I think I'm close-ish, at least. So then if we go into this big Parthenon type area, I rebuilt the pillars to the best of my ability. The roof is meh. I have no idea. Like, I've never built anything in a Greek style before, so you'll have to forgive me. I did do a little bit of research to kind of look at shape, but I really, with the way this layout was, I could not quite come up with the layout it might have been. I just kind of followed whatever the floor design was. Now, I did put a little bit of a table here. There was charcoal in this room, so I'm assuming there was either torches or fires or something, and that's the reason I put those in the corners. I matched the walls, so I try to do blue on these directions and then the yellow and orange in these directions. I still don't know what the glow lichen was for. Was it actually glow lichen? Was it gilding? I did use it on a couple of surfaces up on the ceiling here. Was it supposed to be like incense or broken glass or something else? I'm not sure, so I kind of have just put a sign there for that. In the other room, I have rebuilt some of the pottery and just kind of sat it around for now. And then in this room, I didn't. I mean, I rebuilt a couple of the pottery and then kind of left things where they were just to kind of represent what I think. And there was a big wood block here. I'm not sure whether that was actually supposed to be a ceiling or furniture, but I added some bookshelves in to represent that. As we come around here, I like this building the most of all the buildings that I've recreated, honestly. Like, something about the shape of this one. It was a fun challenge to try to make this shape into something that looks really cool, and I've never built anything like this ever before, so I'm pretty proud of it. Gave a little bit of an awning over here, planted the flowers that we found seeds for, left the cartographer table alone. Now, in most of these little divoted pits that I found, some of them had campfires like this one, and they all had metal. Not all of them, but some of them have metal. I wasn't sure whether that represented chains or maybe something that was protecting the fire, so I've opted now to just protect the fire, I guess. Put some kind of protection around it, and then just a basic room. Probably could have put beds in these too. But I honestly don't know whether I should have, like, recreated these more or just leaving them open like this. So I've opted to just kind of leave them open. Moving along, we have the fireplace or the meeting center. with all of the bricks. I'm hoping that the stone actually belonged up above because the brick was underneath it. Not entirely sure, but I like the look of that. It's kind of like a where I was tempted to put down a bell, honestly. I was tempted to put a bell here just like in a village, but I never found any like metal or anything to say, hey, there was a bell here. But it would have been kind of cool to have had the bell, because I could totally picture, like, all of the villagers kind of just coming together at night and conversing right in this area. Now we have the weaponsmith, where we found the blast furnace and the anvil, and I have left some of the charcoal down here, just as kind of representation of probably we're either using charcoal or something like that in these furnaces. Now I found a floating furnace. And there's nothing underneath it until you get to this granite, and I was very confused, so I did put some more furnaces in just to kind of stack it up. Not sure if that's what that was meant to be or not, and it could have been something else altogether. Maybe there was supposed to have been a fire pit, but there was a granite block right there, so you can kind of see that I did not put that there. It was always there. And then if we come on over here... Once I started to go with this and saw how it was planned and placed, I kind of think these may have been pins for animals as opposed to just manure, but that could still represent manure left behind by the animals in the pins. So I have made them stand out to be pins now for just actual cows. And then, of course, Leathersmith had these cauldrons here. And if you come back in here, there was another fireplace area. And just another room, so probably storage, maybe a place to smoke the leather hides or something, maybe, I'm not sure. Over here on the mason's house and the brick house, I did put the stone cutter in place where right around the place that I had found that iron ingot. And then if we come back in here, to the best of my ability... Oh, that's weird. I had built those up. To the best of my ability, I rebuilt the brick kilns. I know I mentioned this before, but there would actually be fires down below. And then the fire and the heat would come up into the upper areas and would cook the bricks in the individual holes. And they would probably be a little bit bigger than this. But you would cook the bricks, and then once they were completely dried, you would probably stack them up here or stack them out there. And then you would continually keep it going, basically. And the open market. So the open market I decided to keep as open as possible, but give some fabric... give some wool tarping over it. And this one was the most fun. Now I have left everything in place. I haven't actually rebuilt the market. I did opt to have these little guys here represent lighting, like we had the lights down there. And instead of stone, because I didn't find any stone, I went with wood. With the assumption that they were, like, probably the posts. Could have probably done it like a villager house, like a villager's, their lampposts over there with a block of wood and then torches around it. But since they already had lanterns of some sort that I found, I was assuming that they had lanterns available. So instead of having the torches, but I have left all of the items down on the ground just to represent where they were. And, you know, when we go through with Daskalos, I'll probably explain why I did that, and I might ask him if in the next episode all of this stuff is like built out, like it's in a final form. You'll know why. But next up, all of the shepherds and the butchers and their residences. Some of these I put stuff in the rooms. These things are like little mazes, honestly. Like once you get them all done, they're kind of little mazes. I'm assuming this would have been the residence of the Fletcher, maybe? The one that we have missing? But I never found anything that would have represented the fletching table. Like, if there had been a block of birch here or something, I would have put that down. I probably would have given us a fletching table. And then at the very end of the street, I made all the little villager houses. So these are very simple. A bed and a torch, and that's it. And then I just connected them all up together with a pathway. And maybe before this series is over, well, I'll actually bring some villagers over, because it would be kind of fun to watch them going about their business here in this little village. And I can't believe it, but I actually have a village now. I mean, take a look at this. This is a full-on village. And if I brought villagers in here from over there, like, they would probably be just living it up over here. And this is a lot more expansive than that. So we might have to definitely bring some over. Today is the day. We are going to get evaluated by Daskalos, and we'll see how close I was with this build or not. And then we actually get to see everybody else's builds and how they did before we see the final product, or what Daskalos had in mind for this whole thing. So I'm looking forward to it. So I just gotta wait for Daskalos to pop on and we'll get started.
Okay, so I'm to understand you all are done?
Yeah.
Yep, all
Yep.
done.
Excellent. And you're ready to get graded?
Yeah,
No,
sure.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, grades.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, then I will take one of you. Okay, here we are.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome
let's,
to my interpretation.
yeah, let's go check it out.
Well, this was a very fun challenge, Daskalos. This was a lot. I hope I found it all, but like this was
Okay.
there's obviously a lot going on here, and I'm reading this from the point of view of if you notice back on the hill we just came from, there's villagers. So like I kept in mind villagers as I started digging this out and started to find some of their different tables and things within the ruins. So
Okay. Well, you want to walk me through and tell me
Yeah.
what you think is going on here?
So this first section, I found pretty much just like the cobblestone and a little bit of the sandstone. And because of these shapes, they were very, very kind of an obvious, very small square shape, just like I mentioned from the villagers up there. So I interpreted these as little individual living dwellings. So just enough space for maybe a bed, maybe like whatever they're, and I just threw beds in. And didn't make them very fancy at all. I did find evidence of bamboo and this packed mud alongside the cobblestone and the sandstone, and that's why I rebuilt them this way.
Okay.
Very similar, but these seem to have like larger layouts, and then they also had all of these workstations that I uncovered. So the smoker and the loom, and then there was a barrel. So I interpreted these to be more of the villager stations or their houses, but these were workstations for maybe the local tradesmen who did, took care of animals and took care of, smoking meats and taking care of sheep, etc. And then kind of interpreted these to be also living quarters for them. So they had their livelihoods in here as well as their sleeping quarters.
Okay.
Then over here, I created a marketplace. There was very, very strong evidence of like stalls, individual stalls with items that were kind of buried in here. Like these half slabs, this furnace, a couple of the furnaces, this glass. It looks like this was a place where they sold their items, or they came and put their items in for exchange and bartering. And then I found these two like stone, like these cut stone pieces that were very similar to what we found in the road over here. And I found evidence, I found lanterns like buried in amongst some of the suspicious gravel. So I assumed that they were probably a lamp post of some sort, and found like evidence of other little lamp posts all the way down through here.
Okay.
So that's why I put lampposts down there, but I didn't find the same stone thing here as I did over there. So I was running under the assumption that there was probably a lot of wood. If there was wood in this area at all, probably just wasn't there anymore.
Okay.
As well as the fabric tarping. I kind of just guessed at that just for the heck of it. I didn't find any evidence of wood or stone or brick like I did in some of the other builds to show that there may have been something that could have been a harder material that covered these. then this one over here. I assumed that this was a masonry because there's all sorts of examples. There was all sorts of examples of brick, of quartz, cut quartz, of cut like different items, just like a mason would have in a normal village, Minecraft village, as well as bricks and kind of examples of brick walls and different display items.
Okay.
This seemed like a big yard. But then in back here, I found these unusual brick structures, mud brick structures that look like brick kilns to me. To be able to make these bricks and even some of the mud bricks, the packed. But the cooking, the evidence of all these actual bricks, like that, those are kiln-fired bricks. So I assume that these were kilns back in here.
Okay. I noticed you have a stone cutter here.
I do have a stone cutter. I found a single piece of iron here, which would have been what they would have used to have made this. Again, I did not find this. I did run under the assumption that since there was a piece of metal here, they used something to make all of these. So
okay.
This one found podzol and evidence of a wheat left over. So I had two running theories for this one, that they could have been animal pens where the podzol or the manure was left over, or they could have been individual pens where people like piled up to sell the manure. Couldn't quite decide which one of that could be, but all kind of part of that same leathersmithing thing, because I did find these cauldrons back in here for leathersmithing.
Okay.
And then back here I had found evidence of, well, it was in multiple houses here. I found these like little pits, and a couple of them I found remnants of campfires. Now I also found remnants of iron ingots, and I could not figure out for the life of me what that was. So I kind of built up as these little iron fences around them to protect them, but I was unsure about those. So that is my interpretation of what those little iron ingots were. And then again, just another little room, and I did not decorate these out because I didn't have enough evidence to know what these were. I will say in most of these builds, I found lots and lots of charcoal, and I ran under the assumption that maybe there was a fire or something that took out all the roofs, or some kind of disaster, or it was just remnants of what wood used to be here. But that's why I put the wooden roofs on the top.
Okay.
Oh, and here's a charcoal piece that I kind of left just as a representation there. And then over here, a blacksmith. I did find a smithing table within the remains here, and I recreated the floors. I did a lot of guesswork up here. There wasn't a lot of evidence. Now, in a couple of these, I did find little pieces of spruce wood in a couple of these, so that's why I recreated all the roofs in this section with the spruce wood and the mud bricks. There was a lot of these mud bricks kind of laying around. And they all had these three, like the big three or four buildings, all had this cobble deep slate, and there was a very obvious kind of foundation that I saw, so I left those where they were. Over here, same thing, weaponsmith with the blast armor. So both the weapon and the toolsmiths. I found the blast furnace and the anvil in here. This one was really like, this room really confused me, and I've left the charcoal on the ground. I wasn't sure whether or not the charcoal could have been what they used primarily for all of their tooling and for blast furnacing or whatever they needed to do. I found one furnace here, and I'm not sure if there was like it was supposed to have been an upper level where it was higher. I was confused because these granite stones were all the way through this area, but this furnace was really high up on the wall, so that one baffled me. So I kind of like very, very assumptive there that there was possibly something underneath that furnace.
Okay.
So that one baffled me, so I just kind of built what I thought it could have been. This one I didn't find any workstations at all. So, but what I did find was a sunken pit. So that is down here. And then I found some charcoal And then all of these stones, the stone stairs and the mud bricks were all just falling around this area. And then I was kind of surprised to find these 4 corners of the cobbled deep slates. So I assume they were kind of like what I saw around this area already, where it was a foundational bit. And I had like a foundational support. And then I was kind of surprised, like there was nothing else there. And when I found this stone, when I kind of picked up the stone stairs, these bricks were underneath it. And at that point, I assumed that they had been up above at some point. And this was probably like an open area. Probably a gathering place, possibly, you know, I didn't find evidence of a bell like I would find in an actual Minecraft village, but like I felt like maybe that would have been the area where they they'd come around at night and do discussions and talk over the day and like make rules and stuff like that here in the city center.
Okay. All right.
This one was a lot of fun. Like the shape of it was very unusual. Also had this cobbled deep slate foundation, but this one had a cartographer. So it had a cartographer table in it, and just maybe another room that could have been like the bedroom. And then this one over here had the stanchion for the librarian. So I figured that this area was either living quarters, probably, for the librarian and the cartographer before they went to work over here in the white building, which we'll get to. Or it was like study quarters for trainees or students, because it was a little bit lowlier than what we see in the building next door.
Okay.
The plants, I made this kind of an open air garden sort of thing because I did find evidence of seeds and the seed pods for these old ancient plants.
All right.
Parthenony looking building had lots of evidence of these columns, so these quartz columns, and they were very, like, if I'll take one of these out, each of these columns there was like a calcite piece underneath this section. And it was a very obvious, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it was, like, very spaced out, like, almost perfectly. And then I found one of these columns, it was tipped over, and it was kind of laying out here still. And it had the capstone kind of out here. So I assumed that all of these were probably about the same height of a pillar. So then I rebuilt them with the count that I found from that initial column that looked like it was pretty much intact.
Okay.
I also found all of these. I found a couple lanterns in this area, so I assume that there was probably lighting, kind of like we had in the center area with the lantern, the lampposts. In here, I found evidence of books. I found this lectern, so I put the bookcases in here from the books that I found, and there was a piece of oak in here, so I kind of assumed that there was probably like bookshelves or something, and then lots of pottery, and I'm not sure whether that was just something that they collected in here, or whether it was just their part of their library, or whatever, but that's why I've recreated these pots here using some of the sherds that were found.
Okay.
And then same with this room, but a cartographer. So this is one reason I said that it could have been where they worked, and that could have been their living quarters for the cartographer and the librarian, or it could have been students living over there, and then the main cartographer and librarian lived in this space. This room, I figure, was probably some kind of area of worship or some gathering place, and I interpreted all of the fallen at that time terracotta as actually the roof tiles, because I found all of these diorite and basalt sections like in this perfect pattern. I mean, there was a few broken basalt pieces and a few other ones that I restored, but for the most part, this was exactly the way, like when I took up all of the terracotta and the gold, it was all like just... This was here. It was pretty much all intact. So I assumed it was going to be either a roof or it could have been something that was in between these pillars, but I opted for the roof design instead. I still haven't figured out the pillars or the purpose for the pillars because they're a little bit unusually shaped. And also the big fire things in the corners. I found a lot of charcoal in those corners, but not much else, so I assume they were either torches or something larger for fire for lighting in this area. And then this last area, clerical villager or something like that, or the clerics or someone who made potions or an apothecary of some sort. I found this basalt floor similar to the one next door, but this didn't have the entry, the like checkered pattern. What it did have was just these deep slate tiles, and there was nothing else. Like in this area, there was none of the diorite. So I kind of ran under the assumption that this could have been a little roofed off area, but not an area that was completely enclosed, because I did not find a whole lot of this calcite around here. And as you can kind of see, the stone to this like leads right into it, and there was nothing, like there was no calcite on top of it. This area I was very stumped by this. Like, I found a couple of these stairs that kind of lent itself to thinking the way it had fallen on the floor gave me the thought that they could have been arches. And again, another ceiling type, because there was a lot of stairs that were up here, and then on top of the diorite, there was more of the deep slate tiles. The layout itself in here has stumped me. I basically built it back up to where there weren't these basalt tiles in the floor. But obviously the layout of it itself just kind of, I assume that they could have been side rooms, bedrooms, other like areas where people could have come to study possibly. But I built them up as kind of just living quarters for the apothecary or the people who lived here.
Okay.
This room, I felt like it could have been more like a storagey room, and then this room had the glowstone and these sandstone bits and the brewing stand and that little chest, but there was nothing in the chest. I left these here even though there were stone, like the basalt underneath them, because I couldn't figure out whether they had them up above or they had them out and possibly growing netherwort or something back in here. Out front, found evidence of charcoal and seeds. So and then all of these like stone diorite walls. There was a section over in the corner that really stumped me. There was like quite a few walls in here that were kind of all on top of one another and it didn't fit what I rebuilt. So I know I'm missing something over in this side that I just could not figure out. So I just rebuilt it the way I kind of saw it, but you stumped me there, Daskalos. Like, I was completely stumped by those. But I did find evidence of a lot of seeds and things, and that's why I planted this garden out here. And also found these interesting... So I had actually found, like, there were acacia trees growing in this area, which was really unusual. So I wanted to make sure that they were represented again once I kind of unburied the area. Because acacia trees don't grow in this kind of biome, and it was kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. So I wonder whether wherever they came from initially, they brought those trees with them, and that's why there's 2 acacia trees here.
Okay. Okay, so that was good. I will take the next person.
I guess
he really is doing this one at a time, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Hello. Okay, that was good too. And the final one.
Bye.
Well,
I saw him teleport. Did you see that? That was crazy.
that was weird.
Okay, so that was very nice. I suppose you all want to see each other's builds, yeah?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Everything was black for a
Ooh,
moment
hello.
there. Oh, there's a village. Why someone did a whole village. That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, Millie,
Disney.
you wanna show everyone around?
Oh
Well-
man, you are so much more pro than me. Look at that,
This
like
is
all
so-
the
oh
little
my God,
thing. with
Yeah,
the
so I
sign and
started
oh
over
my
here
goodness.
with the left, and I took down all the dirt, and then made my first kind of map schematic. So I kind of had an idea of where everything was, and I collected up all the dirt and
You
stuff. in
saved
case
all the dirt
we
and
had
the
to,
flowers and the
we had to,
saplings. Oh my God.
sift for lost shards or whatever, and then I kept making maps as I went until the final product. And then I have books of each of the phases.
Oh, look at this first one. This is cool. It's like you had started the top of the excavation.
Yep. Yep,
So
just down to the
cool.
first touches of gravel. So I got it down like 3 levels or so and got to the
Oh,
first touches of
nice.
gravel. And then
This is
after that,
incredible.
once I got most of the gravel out, and then all of the gravel and everything that was toppled was this map. So this basically left it down to the floors and some of the foundations, and then the last one's after I
Mhm.
rebuilt it.
Nice.
So was
That's
that
cool.
village there before? Or did you build
Yeah.
the village?
He actually spawns me in that little house over there.
Oh, no,
Oh.
you didn't have a tent. You had an actual house.
Yeah, I got the little house. So
I'm
Oh,
jealous.
okay.
Oh,
the
Harold knows that's how it
orientation
goes
wasn't the
sometimes.
That's how it goes sometimes.
That is-
I assumed everyone was going to be the same orientation, but no.
Nope.
That's interesting. Okay.
yeah.
Nope.
So I took it down
Oh,
as
this
much
is
as I could,
beautiful.
and then rebuilt with the materials that I found, basically. So if I found mud brick, or I found bamboo in a build, or I found spruce in a build, that's what I rebuilt it with.
Similar. a little
Well, should we go to the next one?
bit. Nice.
Sure.
This
This-
is
this
awesome,
is-
Millie.
this is
This
great,
looks really
yeah.
good. I knew yours would look better than mine.
Your roofs look so much better than what I did. So
Oh gosh, and I was thinking,
And-
it was so plain
this-
for me. I was like, I'm just gonna, I
this
should
this
stop
looks
playing
more
with it.
more Minecraft. Like this,
Okay.
this looks like a put together
really
Minecraft
does, yeah.
build.
You can go.
See, I didn't
You
get a
did.
house. I just got a little tent, but that's
Oh, you
okay.
got a
We
little
lived in a
tent.
Well,
tent
look
at
at
the
look at
ancient
your
Oh, you got
all
cute
the
little maps,
cool
too.
stuff around you. This is like crazy world generation.
Oh yeah, they have all
Oh,
these
gosh.
weird, mountain things.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Oh, you got the ice biomes too, like
ice spikes over there.
ice
yeah.
spikes. I had ice spikes not too far away from mine. I like your little maps. Those are cool.
So I did my little map. So I
Oh,
actually
you
did the
gridded it
grid.
out. Sweet.
I did the grid, yeah, so I could excavate them in the grids, and so that was the mound before. This is the after excavation, and then this is after cleaning up the debris and fixing the floors,
Oh,
and then I removed the grid for the recreation, and that is the final map.
Did
Nice.
you what did you make the grid out of?
Lightning rods. It was the goofiest, worst thing to work with,
Really?
but it showed up on
and
the
was
map.
it laying on the ground like that, like lightning rods on the ground? or
like
was
like
it
a
up
s-
in the
like a
sky?
s- I did it a square above the ground, so like
Okay.
if the dirt was there, I would do a line of them like this.
oh, that would have been.
And then
Okay.
if the dirt went up, I would basically do that.
Interesting.
It looked so bad, but it looks good for the map.
That's great. Yeah. Okay.
You'll see it in my
Nice.
video. It looks ridiculous.
Nice.
That's all right. You'll see what I did.
There's a whole bit in my first video where I do the whole time lapse of laying down the redstone, and then when I realize it won't be on the map, I do I start another whole time lapse of redoing it, and then I record scratch quit.
Speaking
Everything
of which,
is-
if you want to see Oda's, you got to go see his video.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's a
so
lot
I
of-
did
that's a
I
lot
did a
of
map.
different stages.
I did a bunch of different kinds of phases. So
Oof.
you don't see the redstone lines. So this whole kind of maps 2 and 3. I had a grid over everything, and you'll see a grid when you kind of walk out there. I
Oh,
left
okay.
it more as an archeological site, I think, than either of you did. And I left the
Okay.
area around, and I only excavated out the actual structures. And then these are all a whole bunch of test
Oh.
trenches that I did while I was trying to find the perimeter of the site.
Oh, neat. Okay.
And then I left, you can see it actually really well in this partial
have
excavation.
markers.
So you can see the bulk that I left. So those are the lines. So I left the redstone lines in place as I was excavating, and then removed them as I rebuilt the structure.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
And then this big chest monster over here, every chest corresponds to a grid square.
good.
And so
You got all these
everything that I
little
excavated out of each grid went into the exact chest that corresponded to that grid.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. See,
Archaeology,
I only
everybody.
I only kept like the artifact. I was gonna keep the dirt, but then I was like, nah, they would just discard that. I think I just kept the artifacts.
No, they
Yeah.
totally won't until they've sifted through everything.
Yep.
Oh, I
This
love.
is
Okay,
this
so
is how
it's-
we can make all of our statements about certain places
Yep.
and things. Is, yeah,
all
'cause
the
of
bones, all the
brilliant.
beads, all the
Mhm.
pottery shards, all the everything. Yep.
And
Mhm.
so the red
Brilliant.
things above, as you look out into the distance. So Daskalos had said that the site was within 100 blocks of the campsite. So I went around and did a field survey, or like 100 blocks around the whole thing, to look for,
Oh.
because I didn't want to just assume it was a single site. So I looked kind of throughout the whole of the landscape, and then I narrowed in, and
nice.
that's the blue area is where I
And if you
want
want to see more of Harold's builds,
and so that's what I gridded out.
go ahead and
Oh,
check out his
nice.
channel.
Okay.
I have the link in the doobly-doo.
So
Okay, so you've seen each other's builds now,
Yeah.
Yes.
and I'm sure you want to see the original.
yes, please.
Absolutely.
Now,
Uh-huh.
something to keep in mind is that a lot of things you won't actually be able to get right. This isn't really an exercise in how close or how right you can get it. It's more of an exercise of how least wrong you can get it, more than anything else. So there are going to be some things that you're going to see that you would have never have gotten because there was no evidence left of them.
Mhm.
So don't beat yourself up, and it wasn't me setting you up or anything, but there's definitely some stuff that you guys got totally wrong, because there was just no evidence of it. Also, there's a few things that one of you, depending on what we're talking about, one of you would get right and the rest would get wrong. And so, yeah, it's kind of interesting. But if you're ready, we're going to teleport there, and it's going to be a big, giant, orange wool box.
Oh, hello.
It
it's
sure
right in the
is, isn't it?
Yep. So there is the orange wool box. Now I decided to put it in the desert because when I take away this orange box, you're going to see the grass, which is the extent of the site. So it's a really good
okay.
sort of split between the dirt or the sand and the grass. So that's why I chose the desert to do this.
Mhm.
So if you are ready, I will do this and cue the Willy Wonka music.
If you want to see
Ooh.
paradise. Oh, sorry.
You'll get demonetized if you continue with that.
I
Okay.
promise they won't, but anyway. Oh,
So
Okay.
Wow.
let me go ahead and take you on a little tour. Here we have what I'm calling the lower class housing. This is single occupancy housing, bed, little table, with a sort of a thatched roof with the bamboo up top. Now, as we come down here, you will notice that you guys did get the lamps, the street lamps, mostly correct, so that's good.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then through here, you will notice that all of you had some aspect of this block housing correct. So, like, it's funny
so
because,
close.
like,
With
there's...
our powers combined.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was thinking. I'm like, man, I should have had you all working on it, because that would have been interesting.
Yeah, we would
So
have
if you
had
come in
girls'
here-
beams.
Nice.
Yeah,
The
it
cross
is-
beams is something I missed.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
so good.
It is 4 individual 3-room houses. As we come down this way, we will come into the marketplace, which a lot of you
Nice.
got correct with your assumptions. But go ahead and walk around. You'll see I've got the fisherman has their booth here with all of the barrels for all their fish. I've got the shepherd here with their wool and their dyes and
Ah, the
little
middle
products
was
they can
the
do with that.
Grates above for
Yep.
grilling meats. Ah, okay.
Yep.
Oh, I
About
got
that
the
one.
I got the
anvil.
cooked
So
meats right.
that's what the
Nice.
iron was.
Iron block was the anvil, but
Okay.
you got the
Oh.
Did.
grindstone right.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, you got the grindstone
Oh,
right.
nice.
And then,
Cooked food,
yep,
yeah.
Oda definitely got the banner thing right. That was just, I
And
mean,
Oda
that
got
you
the
would
meats
have never
right.
known. You
The
would have never
bones
known
were-
the banners, but yeah.
Yep.
And then of course, yep, Potter here with the
Oh,
Pith
okay.
away
So
and the-
the
and the
Fletcher
little
was in
flower
here.
pots.
Okay, cool.
Very
Mm-hmm.
cool.
And then an empty stall, just one that
Just
is
an
not
empty one.
occupied.
Just
Mhm.
none.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
just the one charcoal in there. Where
Mhm.
Oda's standing.
Mhm. And the charcoal, of course, was the ceiling.
Yep.
Ah, these were standing up as a support. Ah, come
Yeah.
on.
Yep, they were standing up as a support. This is your stone cutter. This is your mason.
There's there's the tool right here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's nice. I like that. I
But
like all the
a
additional-
lot of you got a couple things wrong, which is this.
Oh, stairs going up.
These were stairs, not
they were
okay.
stairs,
Oh,
okay.
it
Mhm.
was. Look at
Yeah.
this.
For second level.
Mhm,
And this is a
mhm.
chimney.
Balcony,
This
I
is a
like it.
chimney.
Nice.
Mhm,
This is-
mhm.
I wondered if they weren't stairs.
Yep. So yeah, this is your mason. So they've got it's a house and a business in one.
Yep.
And then over here we have our leather worker, which you do have the animal stalls with the hay bales out front.
Yep.
All of the stuff that they are selling. If you follow me back here, we have the living quarters for the leather worker.
Oh boy! So all these
Okay.
buildings were like the workshop and then
Yep.
the house.
Mhm.
Oh, and he's got a
Wow.
cauldron above the fires. Okay, and it was open roof, open roof
Okay,
fires.
cauldron.
I
Yep,
kept
yep.
debating on that. I kept going. I could just take out these things and just have it open to the air because that would have been a little bit more old,
Yep.
like ancient. Like I should have done that.
Yep.
Like it.
And then across the street from that is the toolsmith.
Ooh.
I like
So
your.
I like the
I like,
front.
your
Like,
window stuff.
yeah, I like the
Yeah.
look of that a lot.
Nice.
Cool.
Oh,
Shit,
thanks.
And
Yeah.
Oda, your
Oh,
interpretation of the bricks falling like was yep, it was correct.
Hmm. And then yep, another
Okay.
second
Yeah.
story.
So these are all just bricks. So the mud here was degraded bricks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bricks.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. I got
Degraded
that right.
bricks.
And then this staircase
also
was
some of
still
the
upstairs.
some of the stairs were also degraded mud bricks. So like it would fall and it would have because if you look at the mud brick stairs, it's like individual bricks, and so that's what that's why I did that way. So this is sort of the middle class here.
So then this is the armor smith. of
That's
course.
the armorer. Yep, this is the armorer.
Okay,
So
the
lots
part
of
that we've
armor.
been dying to
here.
dying to see.
Okay. Yeah.
It was
Here's
upstairs.
the second floor with the stupid furnace.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I did not expect this furnace to give you guys so much trouble. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. They're going to realize it's the second floor. Apparently not.
No.
I
Sorry.
mean, I
No.
kind
But
of
it was-
thought it
let's
might
see.
have been, but like I was like, I'm not seeing any other evidence for that.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
But yeah, of course, if the
But the
second
fur- the
floor is
furnace is
wood,
up
it would've
higher
been
then.
gone.
In the
But
original.
it
The
would have
furnace
fallen.
is up higher.
It would have
would've
fallen
fallen,
though
yeah.
because it was a wood
fallen, yeah.
floor.
Right, because as
Okay.
this caved in, some wall pieces landed
Yep.
here,
Yep.
and then the furnace
I
came
gotcha.
down.
And then
on
the
top.
furnace
Yep.
came in. Yep.
Makes
Yep.
sense.
Over
floor in
here around the side. So these are the only two professions that I had that were not actual Minecraft professions. The rest
Ooh,
are
I
all
like
Minecraft
the
professions.
little gate. This feels very like
Yeah.
a little Hobbit home kind of to
Oh,
me, like
yeah,
a
it's
little
kinda cute.
little
So-
low walls with the gates. I
Yeah,
love it.
have their little
The-
individual gardens.
The cartographer is well, I guess that kind of
Yeah,
is
the-
a
yeah, there's a
profession. It's a
Sure it is.
cartographer. But this is more. You'll see here in a bit. It's more of an administration thing. So this is their house, along with their little workstation that they can do from home, and same with this one. The librarian, I'm actually calling an archivist instead of a
Nice.
librarian. And you'll see why here in just a second. They're both basically tax collectors
Oh.
Nice. Okay.
because this building is an administration building.
Oh,
Ah.
okay. I was a little different.
So stairs going up to the second story, but
Oh, it's
you
a
also
second
have
story too, and this
a
is what
first
the-
story. Yeah.
oh,
Oh yeah.
is that
So
how it was.
yep. And if you look when you
Yeah.
come up here, here's all the storage for
Yep.
the pithoi that fell down.
Mm-hmm.
So all that
There's more
those
seats.
sherds and everything are from that.
Oh, and then the
Mhm.
stairs would have
Seats.
fallen down
Yep.
below.
This is
Mhm.
way
That's
more
why
beautiful than anything I
Yep.
would have come
these
across.
basalt pillars were driving me bonkers, and
Why
it
there's
just
only
makes
two?
so much
Why
because there
there's
was only two.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, this
Ah,
makes so much sense.
That it was a balcony area. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This is so
is
good. This
brilliant.
looks so good, but
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Okay, that was a roof structure. That's actually built into the roof. Oh,
Yep.
look, the lichen. I kind of got
Yay.
that right-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what was the lichen?
I
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
did
so
it
it
like
is
a
a border,
border
yeah.
around
another
there.
little administration built like room.
So when you
Nice.
come, yeah, if you come down here on the first floor, you've got this is the tax collector. So this is all the
okay.
stuff that they bring in for him to log
pay
in
for
where
the
it's coming
taxes,
from,
yes.
right? And the first room is the archivist, who is also keeping all the records. And there's a
All the
little
records of all
closet
the
down
stuff.
here. hmm
All
But
the little
all of the
bookshelves.
sherds you were finding in here were from that second story, because all those sherds were actually on top of this
Yes.
that diorite.
Let me see. Let me go back up in here.
Interesting.
Oh, look, yeah, it's all stuff being stored up here. Look at this.
So you got the stuff down there.
Like, just like you did in your Greek palace, like kind of inset in the floor.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yep.
That's so nice.
And then
they were all full of olive oil in that one.
well, yeah. And wine, yeah. So the windows are really hard to get. I did not
Yeah.
expect any of you to get the windows
Yeah,
correct. And there's really no way to know how that is. But
Yeah, you had there was the tiny bit of a clue with the way the walls had fallen into that other area, and I kept thinking, I'm like, should I make these windows taller? And that was about it.
Yep.
What was the coal?
Coal was the torches.
Was the torches?
Coal was
Okay.
the torches.
Oh, the
Interesting, okay.
torches. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tried to keep it where it was charcoal was burnt remnants of the roof or burnt organics like the throne here.
Yeah.
And the coal itself was torches or fire or like a campfire. So then if you come out here, this door leads to the chieftains or the chief's residence. So this is the
Alright.
chief.
Okay.
I was calling them the royals.
So this is like
Yep.
a little liminal
Yep.
zone here. I like
Yep,
this.
little
Yes,
liminal zone. Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
So the funny thing is that there's no real furniture in here because I decided that when I was building this, that this was still under construction when whatever happened. So I wanted to see if
Fireplace,
any
and
of you
that
would.
makes
Yeah.
Yep, that
Yeah, the
fireplace.
fireplace.
I kept looking at that going,
the way
man.
this wall was built had me so confused.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
So good.
And then, of course, you've got this in here, which is what you think it is.
Yeah.
Standard Minecraft brewing station,
Nice.
complete with water. So,
Oh, so Oda was right about the second
Nice.
story here.
yep,
Nice.
Odo was right about the second
And
story.
the floor is the diorite. Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
Nice, good job.
Ooh, I like
And then
the-
there's
I
a
like
balcony here. And I remember somebody mentioning a possible balcony.
I just mentioned
Yep.
it like earlier, like
Oh.
literally like last night. I was laying in bed going, that could have been a balcony.
Yep.
Yeah.
First
And of cour-
time the whole time. I hadn't thought of
That's
it
so
until then.
Yeah. And then, of course,
Ah.
the garden is out here, and it is
I
a
love-
walled garden that is not accessible by the common folk. It is
Wall
all.
garden 3 high. Yep.
It
you had
was
to
the
come
three
through
high.
this door.
Okay,
Yep.
nice. They had
And
the
the acacia
acacia
trees
trees.
growing in the
Yay, we
garden.
got something
Nice.
right.
Mhm.
We all got the acacia trees. That's all.
We all
Yep.
got that there was a garden or some place to
Mhm,
grow things, so that was good.
This was actually quite a surprise. All of you had something that sort of sets yourself up to be, having some sort of advantage over the other. Oda's worked with me on stuff before, so he kind of had an insight to how I thought about things. Harald has been an archaeologist, so he had the archaeological side. And then Millie was coming in completely fresh, so she had no preconceptions of what to expect. So everyone sort of had their own advantages, and then everyone had some disadvantages. Both Millie and Oda are not archaeologists versus Harold's being an archaeologist. However, you all have played the game, and so maybe you thought, oh, this is not going to be like the game, even though I did make a lot of it to be sort of the way it goes. So it was a 3-point spread, 59 points being the lowest, 60 points being the second highest, and 62 points being the highest.
That's awesome.
And
Wow.
that and we're talking about the difference between these is basically one or two very small things that would have set you apart. Now, the way I did the scoring is that I took the maximum amount of points, and everything that I saw that was off, I took 1 point away. So with that being said, like, if you had just done one little thing different, maybe that would have put you up. So it's crazy how close it was.
Nice.
So I will give you the lowest points first, and then first place. At the lowest points, at 59 points out of 80, was Oda.
Oh.
Which is surprising because if you look at the overall settlement from above, it actually looks a lot like this settlement from above. It was just what it came down to was just a couple of things in the interpretation, really, is all that it was. So you played it safe, and still 59 out of 80 is still an excellent
Nice.
score.
Awesome. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But you also had the most accurate meeting room, right?
Yes,
meeting
that
room
is
was
true.
the most accurate out of
He-
all three of us.
He absolutely nailed the meeting room.
100%.
Yeah, which is funny because the lower class individual housing, Millie absolutely nailed,
Yeah.
and then the marketplace, Harald nailed with that grindstone that nobody else got.
Yeah.
So there was some little things here and there that really got him. So at 62 points, barely eking everyone else out, in a weird surprise turn of events, is Millie.
Yeah, really.
So, which is wild because when you walk through her settlement, it doesn't look like this. But with all the criteria, of course, being layout, materials, footprint, and interpretation, it just ends up that she just kind of squeaks in there at 2 points.
Nice.
That's awesome.
2
Good
points
job,
above.
Billy.
So,
Ooh.
Thank you.
so yeah,
Five.
so there we
High
are.
five.
Woo.
So there we have it.
As a Minecraft village, I actually think Millie's does look the best, like from a Minecraft perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
I
what
think
I was
it's
going
great.
at.
Yep.
However, if I went
totally,
to it- Mhm.
But
I
I-
totally missed the idea of like each one of those buildings was a Minecraft villager profession living there doing that work. I
Mhm.
totally missed
I
that.
wish I had
Yeah.
remembered the grindstone, and then that would have made so much sense. And then
Yeah. Well, and if I went to this place in the real world as an archaeological site, I would expect to see what Harald had.
Mhm.
So so I looked at it. I was like, oh yeah, this is an archaeological site. All right.
Yep, like I love the quaint buildings and everything.
Yeah.
And
But I think I think Harold, you pretty much nailed materials like
oh yeah,
100%. Where other people missed it, you nailed materials 100%.
yeah, I missed the beams. Like just that
I
it
like
was
that
in
you
an
saw
order.
the
And
beams.
yep.
Yep,
Mhm.
that's brilliant.
Yep, the beams, yeah, that one. Yeah, I was hoping laying those charcoal out in lines would
I didn't even
nice.
catch that. I just figured it was just roof material that fell and burned. Like I didn't even see any.
Now I'm gonna go look back at my other video of when I like looked at those. I'm like, did it actually look like it? Did it? My problem was I didn't set them exactly in the place they were. I kind of set them over to the side, and that was where I felt like I didn't get that right. But
Yep.
So here's your prizes.
Woo! Nice.
Don't
Have a bronze medal, did you?
yeah, no, I don't have bronze, but yeah. Don't
look at that.
don't
That was the
spend them
first
all in
time
one
I
place.
picked up a diamond the entire time.
You got an advancement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was
All right.
a bunch of fun. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Good, yeah, good.
all the work that you put into doing this.
yeah. It was way more work than I was expecting.
Well, there, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Archaeology Challenge, and look who's the winner. Yeah, by just a hair. By just a hair. I completely missed a whole bunch of some of the upper stories and some of the doorways, and I really wish I had thought about that being a pillar and stuff like that. But this was a ton of fun, so just wanted to shout out again to Daskalos for holding this archaeology challenge. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to Harald and Oda for competing with me. We were all so close. We were like just a hair. I mean, we were all so close, like to each other in points. It was amazing. I am so proud of all of us, actually. And it would have been a lot of fun if we had been able to work together. I think if we had worked together, we probably would have nailed it. Like we would have like hit that, maybe not 80 points, but we could have gotten like 70, 75-ish points. I bet you anything if we had been working together. Let's hope this works. Let's hope this works. Let's go home to the craft works. Bye, everyone.